Hello everybody, how are you doing today? It's good to be with you on video. I was delighted when Rev Kev asked me to make this video for Bro Cullunin at a point in the year when I'm always looking forward to Easter morning up in Llangollen, 6:30 a.m, sunrise communion, nothing quite like it. And then the season there every third Sunday, Celtic Praise from April to October. But first we have this end of Lent, moving then towards Holy Week, and this coming Sunday is Passion Sunday. So I want to do a short reflection on the story that you'll hear. It's a story that begins with a problem. It gets worse, looks completely hopeless, and then turns out better than anybody could have possibly expected. It's a pretty long reading in John chapter 11, when Jesus hears that his friend Lazarus is very ill. Now, if you were there at that time, you would expect, wouldn't you, Jesus to pelt it over there. Blue lights flashing, or the equivalent, a sort of divine mode. But he doesn't. He waits, and by the time he arrives, Lazarus is dead. And he's been dead for 4 days. He hasn't fainted. He's not just a little bit dead, but he's properly, definitely dead. And Lazarus's sister Martha meets Jesus and says the equivalent of, well, where have you been? He would have been alive now if you'd have got here sooner. And Jesus then says something absolutely extraordinary. He says, I am the resurrection. He didn't say, I'm an expert in resurrection. I know a bit about resurrection. He says, I am the resurrection and the life. Now, he then goes to the tomb. He tells them to roll the stone away, which must have felt like a truly terrible idea. And he calls out, Lazarus, Lazarus, come out. And out Lazarus comes. I can't imagine what it must have been like for his family, his friends, Jesus's followers. And that's why the story matters so much as we ourselves approach Easter. It reminds us that Jesus isn't only with us when it makes sense, when life makes sense. He's not only with us actually when we're looking forward to something like I am to Llangollen. He's also with us when life is complicated, messy, frustrating. He's with us when everything feels somehow too late, when the stone is already in place, when hope seems, well, sealed in the tomb. Easter is the promise that God is never late, even when it feels like he is. And that death itself is not the end of the story. That voice that called Lazarus, and he called him out of the grave, is the same voice that calls us to life, and yes, to hope and excitement and joy. So as we move towards Holy Week, to the anticipation of Easter, I would call on all of us to reflect on things that might seem hopeless, things that might seem beyond repair, and for us to listen again, listen carefully, because the resurrection specialist is standing at our door, and he is very, very good at bringing life out of truly impossible situations.